the more important thing for the Wild to get these wins, to get these point, Alexis, is that that need for home ice advantage. I don't even call it a want. I call it a need, because this year's XL Energy crowd has been like nothing I've ever really seen before. I've covered this team for 6 years. Obviously, the past 2 years aside, the crowd is just so much more into it. I think you have guys like Kirill Kaprizov, obviously, to credit for that. Kevin Fiala getting people in, Matt Boldy, and that guy Marc-Andre Fleury as well. So, I mean, I think that home ice really is going to mean everything to Minnesota. So that to me is why you need to get those points, is to keep that second slot in the Central.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this. And it's funny because Jesse and I, without realizing that Jesse had already put this in the rundown for the day, I emailed her last night and was like, I think we should talk about this. And she's like, one step ahead of you, because everyone seems to be talking about this right now. And I was talking with somebody about this just this weekend, and the fact that the Stanley Cup has been won on the road, like majority of the past like 10 years or so, it's been won on the road, and stuff like that. And then just talking about like how important is home ice advantage? Is it better to not have the distractions and start on the road? Like, what is ultimately, the best situation? And I really think it depends on the team. Obviously, it depends on who your opponent is. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think at the end of the day, I've talked about this before, but I'm kind of like at the point in my life as a sports fan where it's like, I don't care where you play, who you play, just go win. Like, that's all that, I just need you to go win.
It's that easy. Just like win. Like,
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying no more excuses. I don't care where you're playing, who you're playing, just get the job done. But to your point, Jesse, the Wild fans this season, I really feel like have adopted, and Wild fans have always been great. So this isn't to say that Wild fans in seasons past have been bad fans, but they really seem to have adopted what the Minnesota Wild have shifted into in their culture, which is stand up for each other, don't back down, leave it all out on the ice kind of culture. And it seems like Wild fans have become those kind of fans as well. I talked about this a little bit in my breakdown of the Penguins game, but even that game was intense. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of goals scored. Injuries were happening. There was some quote unquote bad calls, according to Dean Evason and the fans and all that stuff. And the fans were getting into it. I mean, if they see a player get hit, they're getting up and getting in the opponent's face. If they think it's a bad call, they're on their feet yelling. I just think that, and Wild fans or Wild players and Dean have said time and time again this season, to the point where I don't even think they're trying to kiss ass anymore. They literally, truly feel like playing in front of their home fans is a major advantage to them. So I think it would be huge for the Wild, agreeing with you, Jesse, here, to get that home ice advantage. And I think the fans deserve it too. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your fans, who've cheered you on all season, and try to get that home ice advantage and get a couple wins early in a playoff series.
And selfishly, I just want to have more games in my belt for the playoffs.
Money.
So if you do it at home, I get to cover more games. So we love that for me. No, I mean, in the final part about the fans too, what I really love seeing is everybody on their feet for like the final minute. You saw that in overtime. Again, you've just seen, and I know it's because of Kaprizov, right? I know it's because of the electric players, 100%. But also I think it's because it has just a different vibe around this team. Like, you are excited. You're back into it. You've re-engaged this Minnesota Wild fan base, which for so long, and again, no slight, I think here in the state of hockey, we take it for granted, right? Like, oh, it's just hockey and we know our hockey and yada, yada. And that's all fine and well. But now it's like fans are like, we know our hockey and we're so into it again. Like, it's a really, really cool thing. And yes, I mean, everybody will say that about home ice, but truly, I don't think you have many other opponents saying, yes, that building's hard to play in. Yes, we have a tough time there. And you hear that from nearly every single opponent in the National Hockey League. I mean, Pittsburgh has had maybe the best outcomes in St. Paul, and they're 6-6-1. So, I mean, 7-6-1 now, considering the win. But yeah, I mean, it truly is a tough building where you don't necessarily get that around the leagues.